What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. My name is Chris Drummond. I'm a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. Her name is Shannon Scovel. She is an assistant professor of sports communication at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And we're going to talk to her about her why of getting into journalism. She is also an NCAA college wrestling reporter. She is also someone who's been a sports editor as well, worked for USA Today as a college reporter as well. So she has a plethora of experience being in the journalism field. So without any further ado, I introduce to you the wonderful, talented, and the beautiful Shannon. Good morning, Shannon. How we doing?
Hey Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good. It is wonderful to see your face. You look absolutely lovely today on this Tuesday. Just want to say that.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your patience with me as we work to make this happen.
Absolutely, no question. You are a very busy lady, and that's cool. That's absolutely fine. You are worth the wait. I just want to say thank you so much for allocating your time to me to be on my podcast. I want to also ask you, how was your 4th of July weekend, and how's your week starting off so far?
Been great, can't complain.
I love it. I love it. I love to hear that. Mine as well. I worked for a good bit of that, but at the same time, it was still good. Still saw fireworks. Ate some good food too. So that's pretty cool. I want to reiterate to you, Shannon, before I start peppering you with all these questions on why I wanted to have you on. I know that you're an NCAA college wrestling reporter. I also know you're assistant professor of sport communication at the University of Tennessee. You've been a sports editor before as well. And not only that, but you're the first person I've had on here that actually has a doctorate, which is pretty amazing, right? You went to American University, and you also went to the University of Sterling, got your master's, and then you went to the University of Maryland. So you're a Terrapin as well alum
That's
that got your
right.
doctorate. So I want to obviously talk to you and hear your story about your why of why you got involved with journalism. We're so used to writing stories that we don't get an opportunity to sit down and talk about ourselves because everybody's story is special, including yours, Shannon, and it's worth hearing. So that's why I wanted to have you on here. Obviously, very accomplished, but you work very hard as well. And I definitely appreciate you once again coming on.
That's so nice. Thank you so much for doing all that research. And I've listened to a couple of your episodes before, so I know you've had a number of accomplished guests. So just honored to be in their company.
Absolutely. Well, without any further ado, let me get to the first question, which is the same as it always is for every guest. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Did you have any role models, any inspirations growing up? But ultimately, why did you choose a career in journalism?
I love that question. And I've been thinking about it a lot because I know you start your episodes with this. And I really like what Christy Dosh said. I think her why was she loved to write. And that was
Hmm.
kind of how I got into it. And much like her, I think my why has evolved over time. And now my why is really a love of learning and a genuine curiosity about the world, specifically about sports. So I was a student athlete at American. I was a college swimmer. And I went to American to be a journalist. I didn't necessarily think I was going to go into sports. I actually thought maybe I would go into politics. I went to school in DC, and that was kind of what everybody was doing. And it was exciting and energetic. And so I thought that might be a path for me. But as I started to take some sports writing classes, I thought, why am I running away from sports journalism? I am an athlete. This is what I know and love. And so I got into sports journalism, and I really liked sports journalism. I thought there could have been a path for me. But when I went to get my master's at the University of Sterling, I discovered research and the kind of the curiosity. I caught that bug and knew I wanted to be asking bigger questions and have more time to do kind of that deep thinking around why sports matters. And so that's my why. I love that I get to get up every morning and learn for a living and then interact with students who are learning and finding their why. And so it's really been such a fulfilling start to my career.
I love that. I really do. That is a very, very great way to start off this conversation, Shannon. It really is. We talked about you going to all those schools, but let's talk about the University of Tennessee, right? Let's talk
Yeah.
about you obviously being an assistant professor. What made you want to go into the teaching route? Because I just got my master's at Kennesaw State University, and I'm thinking about doing teaching as well. So
The
tell me,
best.
what led you to want to do teaching in Knoxville?
Yeah, it's a great question. I didn't set out to be an educator necessarily. I wanted to
Yep.
write. I wanted to be in a space where I was writing. And then through my master's, found that love of research, went to get my PhD. And pretty quickly into my PhD, I realized this is a path that could put me on towards being a professor. And I didn't know a lot of, I mean, I had professors obviously in college, but I didn't know a lot of professors growing up. So I didn't really know what that looked like. And
Mhm.
as I got into it, I thought, well, this is really a great way for me to give back, to serve others. And I remember thinking in journalism that as much as I loved journalism, I didn't necessarily feel like I was kind of serving the public good or working with people or coaching people. I was often being the one coached, which was great. I loved being coached, but this gave me an opportunity to learn and to teach. And so that's really what I love about teaching. And it's the cliche thing of course, you learn more from your students than they learn from you, but we get to learn together. And Knoxville is such a wonderful place to do that because it has a deep,
Absolutely.
rich sports culture. And so there's joy in learning about sports here that feels really special.
Absolutely. What classes do you assist with teaching there at the University of Tennessee?
Yeah, so I teach our Intro to Journalism freshman lecture class. It's called JREM 175.
Mhm.
I'll be teaching it this fall. I have 125 students, so big, kind of very traditional lecture class. I try to not make it so traditional. I try to make it interactive and fun for the students and bring in a lot of guest speakers. And then I also teach we call it sports reporting across the media or sports media principles and practice. It's more of a like intro to sports reporting class. My
Yeah.
favorite class to teach is 475, which is our advanced sports reporting class, where I really get to challenge the students to do big, long form investigative sports features. And that just really scratches my itch.
Oh my, I can remember doing that in my undergrad for sure, doing those 2,000, 2,500 word
Yep,
stories,
yep.
just being able to go and talk to different people. And yeah, you call them long form. I remember having a class, Shannon, where my capstone, my capstone, you have to do different type of things. So you have to do six different type of stories. So one of them was a game recap. Another one was a podcast. Another one was a long form story. Another one was a story where we had to do photo and the story. We had to do photos and the story. And the last two was leaving me, but it was doing six different projects inside that capstone to be able to graduate. And I loved that. I loved it. I loved taking that sports reporting class, especially I took an advanced one too at Kennesaw State University. And I remember that our teacher took us to Falcons games, took us to the Hawks games, and just you learn so much from being there. Like this type of industry, in my opinion, you learn the most being on the job. Being in a classroom is great, and learning from someone as skilled as you are and as knowledgeable as you are is great. But when you're there in person covering the games and you're interacting with people and you're seeing it up close and personal, you learn so much. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always challenge my students to get out and cover games. In my intro to sports reporting class, it's really more of a live events coverage kind of class. They're every week, they're at a basketball game, a volleyball game, soccer
Mhm.
game, and they're doing all kinds of, just like you described, like they're doing social media reporting, they're doing video reporting. And
Yep.
that's really fun. That's that fast-paced kind of journalism. We're trying to simulate that in the classroom.
I love that. Now you say you was a swimmer. What events did you do? Did you like the breaststroke? Did you do
Not the breaststroke.
freestyle?
Everything with the breaststroke. I swam distance freestyle. So my event was the mile, and I swam the 500 as well, and then the 400 IM. But breaststroke, my worst stroke.
I got you. That's okay. That's all right. You know, my actual first, this is the fun fact before I get to this next question. My actual first internship was in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Really?
Yes, it was with the Knoxville Ice Bears, if you are
Okay.
familiar with them.
Yes. Yes. I am familiar with the Ice Bears. They practice about a mile from where I am right now.
Absolutely. So basically, the Knoxville Ice Bears came to an Atlanta Falcons career fair. I got dressed up, did the whole nine, had the resumes. They gave me a call. They said, "Hey, would you want to come down to help us out with some game day operations?" I was like, "Sure, awesome. I'm glad you called me." Now, at the time, Shannon, I did not have a car. And I was like, okay, I just told them yes that I would do this, and I did not have a car, so I had to figure some stuff out. So I took the mega bus
Okay.
from Atlanta to Knoxville on the weekends, and I would work the weekends in Knoxville, and then also go to school and work my job there for 3 months. I did that 3 months straight. So I would go there, pay for a hotel, stay there for the 2 days, almost every weekend, and then I would go back, and I would do that for 3 months.
Wow.
Yes, I did that. I did
That's
that.
the
I remember.
grind right there.
That was definitely a grind for sure. But I learned so much because learned about game day stuff, learned about chucker pucks when they be chucking the pucks on the ice. I learned how to do will call tickets, how to set those up, how to answer phones for will call tickets. But the best thing I learned was that I probably do not want to go down this route. I think I want to go the writing route for sure, for sure. That's what I learned the most. I got some favorite questions here, Shannon, and I just want to ask you some favorite questions off the rip, and you just give me the 411, okay?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Ooh, I make a really good breakfast sandwich.
Okay, so the next time I'm in Knoxville, again, my name is Chris. If you ever make breakfast sandwiches, Shannon, I would love to just have one of those. That would be amazing. I'm
I
just
don't
throwing
cook
that out.
much, but I can make a good breakfast sandwich.
Hey, listen, if you make the sandwiches, I'll bring the what's that? The tater tots, the hash browns. So we, so we good. We good. Okay, that's awesome. I'm a huge taco person, so I like
Okay.
taco. Okay. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Oh, that's a great question. I've been to a couple of good ones. I grew up in North Carolina, so I grew up on outdoor country music concerts. The first one I ever went to was Billy Currington, actually in Nashville, after I did
Okay.
the Nashville Country Music Half Marathon, and then they have a complimentary concert. Went with my dad, so that one's really special because it's my first one.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, Billy Currington, one of my favorite songs of his was actually a duet he did with Shania Twain. That
Okay,
song is one of my favorites for sure. Um, I would say The Weeknd. I'm a huge
okay,
R&B person, so I like The Weeknd. Definitely love him and Alicia Keys. That's two of my favorite concerts.
good picks.
Okay, that's what's up. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Oh, that's a good question. I spent 8 years in DC, so I have deep fondness for DC. Probably the coolest
Mhm.
place I went was Stirling, which is where I did my master's. I love Edinburgh too, which is about 45 minutes from Stirling. It's a great Scottish city. If you haven't been, absolutely worth checking out. Those are probably
Absolutely.
a couple of my favorites.
I love that. I actually doing my research as I was doing on you. I saw a video where someone interviewed you. You were covering a certain band in
Oh,
Scotland.
yes. As soon as you started to say that, I knew exactly what video you were talking about. I look so young in that video. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was quite some time ago. I was like, wow, okay, that's okay. So that's who I'm talking to today. All right, that's cool. She covered a band in Scotland. That's what's up. I like that. And you had the music playing in the background. It was just so perfect. It was so awesome. So I love that. Um, I would say Jamaica for me, for
Wow,
sure.
okay.
Definitely Jamaica. I went on a cruise last year. My dad set it up. So it was a great cruise. So Jamaica was one of the four spots we went to. Great food, great people, great vibes. So yeah, Jamaica is definitely one of my favorite places. Bonus question. When you were living in DC, because I've been to DC as well, have you ever rode the double decker bus?
I don't think I have. Isn't that shameful to admit? I think because
Mm-hmm.
I was there as a semi-local, I didn't ride the bus. But I
Mm-hmm.
love the buses. I think they're great. I'm a big support DC tourism.
They do. I got a chance to do that for sure. When we went to DC, my brother was in Baltimore, which obviously Baltimore is not that far from DC. He was doing a co-op for school, and we had a chance to go down there and visit him. I went to the Nationals game as well, baseball game, so that was pretty cool. Okay. Well, you're a sport person. I'm a sport person. So this next favorite question is a two-part. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV. Favorite sport that you like to attend in person.
Great question. Favorite sport I like to watch on TV. I cover a lot of college wrestling, and so it's probably the sport I watch the most on TV. And so I've grown to love it because I'm so deep into that world. Favorite sport to watch in person. I'm in Knoxville, so I think I have to say college football. I was like I grew up a college sports fan, so I'm from the Research Triangle area. My parents
Yeah.
both went to Maryland, so I grew up a Terp in North Carolina, and at the time Maryland was in the ACC, so it was like this really fun kind of ACC bubble. But I didn't appreciate just what college football felt like in the SEC until I moved here, and it's intoxicating. And I mean, of course, all the other Tennessee events are great too. I've been to volleyball, been to soccer, I've been to basketball. Those are really fun events. But there is something about football Saturdays in the South that is just super unique.
You ain't lying about that, Shannon. No question. Again, I graduated in Atlanta, Georgia, so Athens was only about hours away, and I went to a lot of UGA football games. I still remember the Joshua Dobbs Hail Mary football game at UGA. They have some memorable moments, but I've also been to Neyland Stadium. For those of you that will watch this, Neyland Stadium is where Tennessee University plays. That's their home stadium name. Um, and I remember them singing Rocky Top. I was like, Lord have mercy, this song again.
You
I'm
either
like,
love it or hate it, but when you live here, it's an anthem.
right, absolutely, no question. I like that answer though. I'm football in on TV, basketball in person. I love those two
Okay.
sports to death for sure. Final favorite question. And I kind of know the Knoxville area. I really like the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame that they have there. And I love Knoxville downtown. A lot of times where we got done with the Knoxville Ice Bears at night, we went downtown. So tell me, I'm a foodie. What is your favorite restaurant to eat at down there?
Oh, great question. They just built this really cool new restaurant called the Kennedy on our like main street in town. So that's really fun. That's always where I take my parents. My favorite part of Knoxville, like favorite place in Knoxville though, is the Tennessee River. I'm a big swimmer, as you know, and so I often swim in the Tennessee River on the weekends or during the week. I part of a swim team that swims in the river on Thursday nights. And so I love having the very vibrant downtown scene and then the outdoor element, the mountains and the river right there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No question. I like that. I'm gonna have to try out the Kennedy when I come back
The
down there
Kennedy's
again.
great. It's like our fanciest restaurant in town. A lot of the restaurants, as you know, you've been here, are like very mom and pop, charming restaurants, and they're great. The Kennedy has this extra level of class to it. It just feels like very, you get dressed up and you go and it's an experience.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Well, let's talk about your day to day. As you know, as a journalist, obviously, day to days are never the same. You always are doing something different, writing something different. Obviously, with me being freelance now, it's a little different than what I was in when I was writing publications. I used to cover a game, a feature story, an editorial, review, just all different kinds of stuff, right? But now you also a professor, so now you got multiple classes, a lot of kids, probably help grading different things. Talk to me about your day-to-day process of being an assistant professor, but also still having that reporter mindset. I know it's two different mindsets.
It is, and it definitely depends on the time of year. Right now, we're talking just after the July 4th weekend. Things are pretty calm. The summer is a time when I spend a lot of my day doing writing and research and working with students. Sometimes, if I'm working on an independent study, I'm currently working with a student who's helping me produce a podcast. So I know the podcaster life. But then when
Mm,
August rolls around, I will be twice a week in the classroom. I'll have office hours, and then I'll spend Mondays and Fridays doing research. And then as the wrestling season comes into play, like
yeah.
October, I do some preseason stuff. I wrote an article or late spring about this Virginia Tech wrestling coach who donated a kidney to an athlete's father. So if there's a cool
Wow.
story that gets picked up, I might do a story here and there, but things really get busy in that October, November to March time. And March is crazy because I usually go to the NCAA tournament in March, the one event that I travel for every year for wrestling, which is 3 days. I mean, you know, the sports reporter life in that arena with the whistles going every 5 minutes, 12,
Yeah.
13-hour days. So March is really busy. July is a little calmer. And then, you know, August to May is the typical college teaching schedule. But it's great. I love that I get to exercise both sides of my brain. I thought maybe I would step aside from the freelance gig when I started the job at Tennessee, but I really like being able to bring real life examples into the classroom and talk about interview scenarios and kind of learn alongside the students or share things that I'm seeing in the real world with them as I'm experiencing them.
Absolutely. It just further enhances the education and further enhances your uh, profile, your resume, but it also gives you some credence to be able to talk to them like, look, I've done this. And you can ask me questions about it, but I can also tell you what steps to necessarily take to be in order to do something like this as well. I can remember doing high school wrestling, and I know out here in Minnesota, when you do high school wrestling and then you do state high school wrestling, you got to go to the big time arenas, which is our XL Energy Center where the Wild play or the Target Center where the Timberwolves play. And yeah, those whistles are going crazy. People getting slammed to that mat, pushed out. Just a crazy type of experience. I definitely have done that before on a high school level for sure. I can only imagine what the NCAA tournament is, what the NCAA tournament is like. So that's amazing. I love that. But it brings up a great point, which is mental health and work-life balance, right? And you just described kind of your schedule. Your schedule, as you said, it gets a little quiet in the summertime, yes, but it gets really busy in the fall, and it also doesn't lose steam in the spring. Those are our months where we have a lot of sports, have a lot of classes. That's where a lot of people take their classes in fall and spring. And you do a lot, right? So talk to me about how you maintain your mental health, but still also have that work-life balance. Because Shannon, you seem like a wonderful woman to be around. There's no question about that. I certainly wouldn't mind being around you. But you also seem like you are very professional, very busy, and passionate about what you do, which is amazing. So talk to me about how you balance those things out.
Yeah, work-life balance. I'm really not a great person to give advice on that. I think one of the things that I am always thinking about is I love my job. And so I wake up every day so excited to do it. And even in the summer where I'm not necessarily on the clock, I can't wait to get up and write or think or draft ideas or even work with other people. I'm collaborating with a scholar out in Chicago on a paper. And I'm thinking about these ideas all the time. Even when I'm trying to separate myself from work and maybe I'm like out for a run or out for a swim, I'm just thinking about work. And so because I'm in this stage of my career where it's so fun and exciting and new, I do have a hard time stepping away. I'll be totally transparent about that. I think my
Mhm.
Thursday night swims are sort of protected time in the fall here in Knoxville, like 6:30 to 8. That's time I'm not working on work. And I'm trying not to think about work, but of course it comes up, especially when you're swimming and you can't listen to music. You just in with it
Right,
with your
right.
thoughts. But I'm working on it. I have a dog, and so he's a good distraction. He kind of gets me outside, out walking. But yeah, I am definitely in the stage of my career where I am not doing a great job with work-life balance.
And that's okay because I don't think we're ever going to 100% have that work life balance like figured out, especially in our industry because we're so passionate about what we do. I love covering games, I love writing as well. Got a chance to do one of my dreams, which was cover the Super Bowl this year. That was amazing to be able to check that off the list. And then just, just be able to do different things like I'd rather be covering events and talking to people like wonderful people like yourself than just wrestling. I really would because this is what I love to do. And when you love what you do, as my dad would tell me, you never look at it as work. So, absolutely, I love that. Um, what advice, Shannon, would you give someone that wants to be in this sports industry, the sports journalism industry?
That's a great question. We had a guest speaker in my class last spring, Varun Shankar, who covers the Washington Wizards for the Washington Post. And I really love what he said about sports journalism. And he said, you have to love the journalism part of it too. Everybody in sports media loves sports. But if you don't love the act of writing and crafting a story and interviewing and talking to people, then it's going to be hard to get through some of those harder days. And as
Yeah.
someone who just cherishes the craft of writing, I really resonated with that. And I don't know if that advice is for everyone. Like some people, they love other parts. Maybe they don't love the writing, but the other parts keep them going enough. For me, it's about in the words of Bill Plaschke, it's about the words. And so I think that that's if finding the part of the job that you love, whether it's the writing, whether it's the interviewing, something that really keeps you going so that you are excited to wake up every day because I think it took me a little while to figure out what that job is going to be that just got me so excited. And now that I found it, I want everybody to find it. And so if people aren't in that part of the sports media world that lights them up, they should be open to pivoting because there's something out there for everyone that will get them this excited to go to work.
I love that. I really love that. You gave great answers all conversation long so far, but I love that. Like people don't understand how many different roles and jobs it is in this sports industry. Yes, writing may not be your strong suit, but I always tell people you don't just have to write. You try everything. Try everything and do what you can do. Once you do that, then you'll find out what you want to find out as far as the kind of direction you want to go. You know what I mean? So I absolutely love that. I love that answer that you gave. I thought about this bonus question though. And the bonus question that I thought about was I wanted to ask you the inequalities of women's sports reporting, as far as pay, treatment, and opportunities go. Now, mind you, Shannon, when I go to some of these events, statewide, section championships that I've covered, you really don't see a lot of women covering these events. And you definitely don't see a lot of women of color. That's for sure. But obviously, speaking from your perspective, what is your perspective on the inequalities of women's sports reporting as far as paid treatment and opportunities go?
Yeah, it's a great question. Something I think about a lot. A lot of my research focuses on the intersection of sports media and gender. And as a woman covering, I would say, a historically male-dominated sport, though it's definitely shifting and there are increasing opportunities for women in wrestling, which is so exciting for me as someone who covers the sport. It's
Absolutely.
it's really hard, and I've wrestled with how to talk to my students about that because I would never want to discourage anybody from going into the field. I think it's an amazing field, and I think we need more women. So I don't
Yes,
want
we
to
do.
tell too many horror stories, and discourage people from going into it. But at the same time, I want to be honest and make sure that my women students know that if they experience something, it's not them. If they're not alone in experiencing some of these hardships. There is some, online comments. Comments are never they're not always going to be positive. And I think there's an uphill battle for women in sports media online. I've been always told not to read the comments. I have a hard time with that. I read the comments, I get discouraged. But then I share that with my students. I'm like, hey, I got this kind of hurtful comment yesterday. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why this happened. And I can share that experience with them. It's one of the reasons why I'm still covering wrestling. I'm still in the sports media space because I feel so passionately about improving representation and bringing that visibility to press row. So there's definitely challenges. It's getting better every year that I go to NCAA. There are more women on press row. That makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel more excited about the future of sports media. So I'm an optimist by nature. I think we're continuing to grow as women in sports media, and of course, women's professional sports opportunities are growing too. The WNBA's expansion team's awesome
Yep.
for women's
Yep.
sports. We're in a better place than we were, but we definitely have work to do.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for women sports reporters, a huge advocate. I'm somebody that definitely wants to see more women doing it because I feel like they are a huge part of growing our business. I feel like the industry is not going to be as good without women's perspectives on it. And that's in every sport. That's not just, you know, you get the kind of the stigma of, well, women don't play football, so they shouldn't cover football, right? Like you talked about the comments before, and you're still going to get trolls. You're going to get trolls all the time. There's no question about it. Some people are going to take that to serious heart. Some people are going to use that as fuel to the fire and motivation and be like, okay, yep, you said it, but I'm going to still do my thing. But it's an important question to ask because, from a woman's perspective, you definitely want to see more faces like yourself. You want to see more women covering more sports and being at press row and being in those press rooms, right? In those small, cramped press rooms that we go into and we talk. So I'm definitely a huge advocate. I'm going to continue to be because I love the fact of listening to women's perspective on sports. It makes me think about a different thing that I probably didn't think about. But it's also great to have inclusion as well, which is the most important thing that we teach in sports is inclusion and values and different things and learning different things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that a lot in wrestling because, like you said, I didn't wrestle, and there are women calling football who didn't play football. But I think in 10 years, that's not going to be a thing. Women are going to
Right.
have more opportunities to play flag football, tackle football, maybe. Definitely in wrestling, Lehigh just added a Division I varsity women's wrestling team. So now there's a
Oh,
pathway for women. And so in 10 years, a woman covering wrestling won't be assumed to have not wrestled. And I love that. I love that people will look at women covering the sport and go, she might have wrestled. That's just so exciting. And unfortunately, I didn't grow up at a time when that was necessarily as popular as it is now. There were
right.
huge, important women trailblazers in wrestling, Helen Rudelis, Adeline Gray, Sally Roberts, so many who have helped make this possible for women. And I'm just thrilled about the direction the sport's going.
I love it. I love that. Okay, that's what's up. We have came to the portion of the podcast now that we're going to do my interactive game called This or That. So
Oh
basically,
no,
what that is that I throw some things at you, and you get to choose this or that. So Shannon, are you ready?
I'm ready, I think.
Here we go. Out of these two restaurants, which restaurant would you rather eat at? Popeyes or KFC?
Oh, KFC?
Okay, okay, I'm with you on that. They got some good
Not a
mac and
lot of
cheese.
confidence in that answer, but I'll go
Yeah,
with it.
it didn't sound like you was very confident at all, but that's okay. That's all right. KFC maybe 51%, Popeyes 49%. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. When it comes to chicken wings, which one, as far as flavors, which one are you putting on the chicken wing? Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Oh, I'm really not a sauce person at all. I might just eat them plain.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, if you had to choose a sauce to put on any kind of meat, what sauce would you choose?
The options are barbecue and lemon pepper.
Yeah,
Probably lemon pepper because it's less strong.
got you. Yeah, barbecue is strong, no question. Now, do you like your wings? Well, you like your wings dry for sure, but do
Yeah,
you like
dry.
your
All
wings
my food dry.
right? But do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Oh, okay. I don't eat wings very often. Probably boneless. Just feels more efficient.
More meat. Okay, I like that. That's what's up. That's what's up. I like that. Okay, these next four questions have to do with music concerts that you rather attend. So, here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Bradley Gilbert or Luke Bryan?
Luke Bryan.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I
Which
saw him in
music?
concert 2014, 2013. He was great in Raleigh.
Okay, I like that. That's what's up. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen?
Oh, I've seen both, but I've seen Luke Combs more recently at the concert for Carolina in the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and so I would say him because that was just a really cool. Both were amazing concerts. Morgan Wallen was here in Knoxville, but Luke Combs was the concert for Carolina itself was really special to raise money
Okay.
for Hurricane Helene.
Absolutely, absolutely. No doubt about that. Okay. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Beyonce or Rihanna?
Oh, Beyonce.
I like how you said "ooh" before you answered that. That was a tough one, right?
Those are hot ticket concerts right there.
Absolutely. Here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Casey Musgraves or Carrie Underwood?
Carrie Underwood.
I like how definitive you are, Shannon. You are very definitive
I
on
know
these.
my country music. Once we start to veer from that, I'm a little bit more iffy.
I got
And
you.
Beyonce
That's
just put
okay.
out her country album, so that's why I made the Beyonce pick.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Now, which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
Oh, I'm terrible at both. Probably badminton.
Okay. Well, listen, badminton is easier. I mean, the ball's not as heavy, or the birdie is not heavy, and the racket's
Yeah,
not
it's a
heavy.
little
So,
more like tennis. Like maybe I'm terrible. I'm terrible at ping pong too.
okay, okay. Well, listen, hey, at least you can swim good. That's all I can say. At least you can swim pretty good. Here we go. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Baseball or hockey?
Hockey,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, like that. Are you a Predators fan?
I'm a Carolina Hurricanes fan.
That's right. That's right. Carolina Hurricanes. Okay. And they're based in Raleigh too, right?
Yes.
Which I've been to Raleigh once to see an NC State game, basketball
Okay.
game, because obviously NC State, Duke, UNC, that is epic. Anytime you talk about college basketball, yes, those three schools are near each other, so it's pretty cool. Okay. Do you like desserts?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna name four categories of desserts, and you have to choose one of these you'll never eat again. Okay, so here we go.
Ooh.
First one is candy. The
Okay.
next one is cookies. The next one is cake slash pies. So they're grouped together. And the last one is ice cream. So which one are you getting rid of?
Candy.
Girl, you on point like a period. I like that. I like that. Okay, you
I'm a
doing
big
pretty
ice
good.
cream person. Big ice cream person.
Okay, well tell me what's your favorite ice cream?
A great question. I'm a chocolate person, so anything mixed with chocolate. I like chocolate with caramel, chocolate with peanut butter, chocolate with Oreo, chocolate with M&Ms. Yeah, all in on the ice
So
cream.
so I'm definitely the same with you, but I'm the opposite. I'm vanilla. Vanilla
Okay.
anything. You know what I mean? So vanilla with some double stuffed Oreos, crushed stuff up in there. I'm
Mm,
with that. That's what I love. I would have chose candy too, by the way. Okay. Do you like potato chips?
yeah.
Okay. Same format. I'm gonna throw four brands at you. You got to choose one of these to get rid of. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. First brand is Ruffles. The
Okay.
second brand is Doritos. The third brand is Lay's. The last brand is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
Doritos.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's a shocker. I would have got rid of Lay's, but that's okay. That's what's up. What's your favorite potato chip?
I like tortilla chips best.
Oh, okay. Got you. So are you a person that likes the salsa to like dip the salsa in the
Yeah,
tortilla?
and
Okay.
guac.
Oh, absolutely. Guacamole. You can't go wrong with that, Shannon. No doubt. Okay, I'm with you on that. That's what's up. Last of the this or that. Which sports player would you rather interview? Okay. And these are Carolina players,
Oh boy.
being from your hometown. If you had to interview one of them, which one would you interview? Cam Newton, or would you interview LaMelo Ball?
Oh, both have very interesting stories. Probably. Oh gosh, this is a hard one. Maybe LaMelo. I don't know as much about him, so I would be interested to learn more.
Okay, I like that. I like that. You did pretty good on this or that. Now, continuing with that frame, I'm going to ask you a top four question. And actually, these next two questions are top four questions. But the first one is going to be a top four of give me a bucket list of events or stories that you would like to write or do that you haven't done yet.
Oh, I think the big one is the Olympics. I
Okay.
would love to do that. We just sent at the University of Tennessee a bunch of students to cover the Paralympics in Paris. I didn't go, a couple of my other colleagues went. So Olympics or Paralympics would be high on my list. Um, and I number two, I think is it's unlikely. I don't cover running, but I think it would be really cool to go to cover the Boston Marathon or watch that or the New York Marathon. I'm a long distance runner as well recreationally, and so those events are just really cool.
Okay.
That's probably my top two. I don't know if I could fill out a top four. Um,
Do you think
I
maybe a
did,
football game, like a playoff game?
yeah, we sent students to the Tennessee Ohio State game this year for Tennessee's first playoff, which was really cool for them. I was excited. And so it's fun to kind of live vicariously through them. They get to go and it's great. I read their reporting and get to be part of the experience with them. And being here at Tennessee, I feel like I'm in such a different sports culture than I've ever been a part of. And like every day is crossing off things from the bucket list.
That's true. That's absolutely true. What about maybe a World Cup?
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Okay. Okay. We'll put that up in there then. Because I know for me, I would definitely love to do a World Cup.
And it's coming to the
Olymp-
US, right? 2026?
right. Absolutely. No question. The Olympics is also going to be in the US in 28
That's
for sure.
I'm working on that.
I can imagine you are, no doubt. I would love to do a national championship game or kind of playoff, whether it's basketball or football. And then I also would like to do an NBA finals. So I would
Okay.
love to cover that. I'm a huge basketball fan, so I would love to cover that as well. My next top four is a top four of things to do in Knoxville.
Ooh, I
Things
love
to do in
this.
Knoxville.
Number one, swim in the river.
Okay.
Number two, attend a football game, probably. Number three, Market Square Farmers Market on Saturdays is awesome.
Hmm.
Um, and number four, I mean, I should just being in town is great. I'm trying to think if there's a distinct thing that I do in town that I could round out the list with. Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. How about that?
Absolutely, no question about that. That was a great place for sure. I don't think I've swam in the Tennessee River yet, so I'm definitely
It's
going to look
great.
forward to
Big
doing that.
fan.
Absolutely, I'm definitely going to look forward to doing that next time I'm out there in Knoxville. Give me a couple of memorable stories that you have written that has stayed with you, like you remember those, and it brings you so much joy that you had the opportunity to write them.
Oh, that is an awesome question. Uh, there's a couple wrestling ones that stand out. The Virginia, very recency bias, but the Virginia Tech one of the coach giving the kidney to the athlete's dad was a pretty incredible story. I also wrote a wrestling story about a Stanford wrestler, Shane Griffith, who Stanford announced they were going to cut their wrestling program in the fall of 2020. And then
Right.
he won a national title in the spring of 2021. And he wore his singlet inside out so that it didn't show the Stanford logo in all black as a sort of protest against them cutting the program. And then
Wow.
they sold a bunch of Save Stanford Wrestling t-shirts. And after he won, a bunch of other factors happened, but they ultimately brought the team back to life. And so his win is sort of this momentous occasion where it's sort of signified to the administration, you have to keep this program. And I had the chance to talk to Shane about that. And actually, the coach of Stanford at the time is now coaching at my alma mater, American. And so that story is kind of cool. And then I have a couple stories that I wrote during my internship at Yahoo, which I just look back on so fondly. I did a whole series about the growth of women in football, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I also wrote a story about housing discrimination in the NFL. That was like the most heavy story I've probably ever done and the most ethically challenging, just to make sure I got everything right. And we got some initial pushback on that story, and then ultimately pretty well received. So I look back on that one a lot. And then the last one that comes to mind is I wrote about gender equity in the Olympics, or lack thereof, heading into, I guess it would have been 2020 at the time, or post 2016. So that was like, those were stories where I got to flex that interest in sports and society. And so those stories stand out as very memorable. I also had phenomenal editorial support at Yahoo, people who were encouraging me to take on these big topics. And I'll just always
Yeah.
be grateful for that.
Absolutely. I've had a chance to read a couple of your pieces that you've written, and I always
Oh
try to pull
boy.
from. I've always tried to pull from different sports reporters, sports writers, and just how they write, because everybody's process is different. And I really enjoyed reading your pieces and doing that. I just the wording, the way that you break things down, it's beautiful. It really is. And I'm not just saying that just because you're here and there. I really do love writing, reading different people's stuff. One of my favorite writers, if is Ramona Shelburne.
Yeah, yeah, oh
Um,
yeah.
he's one of my favorites, no question about that. And as far as the men, you said his name before, Bill Plaschke of the LA Times. He's one of my favorites, for sure. I just love the way they write. I love the way that they story tell. And I love their vocabulary as well. I'm learning new words to write and use. And that's just the beauty about us writing. Um, I want to ask you this, and that is, what is some advice that someone has gave you? We talked about advice you would give, but what is some advice someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Another excellent question. There's been so much of it. I've been fortunate to have a lot of amazing mentors and coaches in my life. So I could probably spend the next hour talking about great pieces of advice. I and I hate to go this far back because there's been so many influential people since then, but I think the advice that I hold on to came from my youth swim coach when I was 9 or 10 years old. And he just had a couple of core principles that he lived by, or he encouraged us to live by. And those were effort, pride, commitment, and be perfect. And by be perfect, he didn't mean it in the perfectionist sense. He meant it in the sense of Friday Night Lights, when the coach gives that speech and he's like, just be perfect. It's more of an effort thing, like give 110%, be perfect for
Right.
yourself and for your effort. And so when I was little, I used to have those words painted on my wall: effort, pride, commitment, be perfect. And so I think those are just core values that I think about. So less advice and more just values.
I love that. I definitely was a fan of Friday Night Lights. I don't know many people who wasn't a fan of that. It's definitely a good show. And movie too. I've got a bonus question for you, and that is, how do you deal with hard stories? And what I mean, like hard news stories, we're sports reporters and, we don't deal with a lot of news, but there are times where it is difficult stories to write. I know for me, when I first started out and I had to start talking to high schoolers and they were losing and their season was ending, and you see those tears flowing down their face, it's tough because I mean, you put yourself there. Like, I was a high school athlete, I played, I know exactly what they're going through, but you have to also get your story done as well and talk to them. How do you deal with the hard sports news stories? Like, does that stay with you, or do you have a way of kind of blocking it off and kind of forgetting about it?
It's so funny that you mentioned the high school sports because I listened to Jeff Pearlman's Two Writers Slinging Yang podcast, and he always ends with, "What's the most difficult confrontation you've ever had with a coach?" And
Yeah,
it's exactly what you just described. And I still think about it. It was my very first job in sports media. I was freelancing for the Raleigh News and Observer as a high school senior, and I
yeah,
didn't know what I was doing. I had an excellent editor in J. Mike Blake who really was supporting me and coaching me. He gave me a chance. I don't know what he saw in me, but I was so green. And I was sent out to cover high school baseball. I don't know if it was regionals. It was some kind of playoff game at my high school. And my job was to get quotes from both coaches after the game. And I went up to the winning coach, no problem, of course. went up to the losing coach and I asked him, which I don't think was a bad question, but I could see where it was taken poorly. I said something like,
Mm,
"What are you going to take from this season to help you as you look to rebuild?" or something like that. And
sure.
he just lashed out at me like I had never been yelled at by somebody before. Like, how dare
Wow.
you ask me that question? We just lost. Let these seniors, cry out their feelings. And I respect that. I just like you, I competed in my last event when I was in college, and it was gut wrenching to never be able to compete for my school again. So I respect how he
Yep.
felt. Absolutely. And he had every right to say that to me, but I still think about it and I still cringe a little bit when I think about standing there in front of him and having this interaction. And it absolutely sticks with me. And I tell my students this story, and there isn't really a great like coaching moment for it, except to understand that coaches might feel that way and they might react that way. And it's just the way it is because sports matter.
Absolutely. I think one of the classes that I would love to teach if I'm able to is interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
I think with me, I love to do interviewing. I love talking to people. And I always tell people in journalism, especially because I also substitute teach as well at times. I tell my kids that ask me about journalism two things. One, um, the questions that you ask have to be thoughtful. They got to be thoughtful questions. And yeah, it's easy to say that, but when you get in front of a coach and you're talking to them, you want the coach to really respect you and to give you an articulate answer for your story to really blossom. Because without quotes, your story won't blossom. So I always say ask thoughtful questions, but also number two, have in the back of your mind that you need to pivot. And what I mean by need to pivot is you might not get great content from certain coaches. You just might not. They might not want to talk, especially in the high school realm. They might not want to talk to you. They might not want to give you great stuff, and that's okay because you understand that they're not talkers or they're upset, like you said, with the game and they lost and this, that, and the third. And sometimes they do lash out. I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about. But I think I'll add to that before I get to this next question, which is Shannon, it was very tough for me when I first started out writing, like, I wouldn't say bad articles, but when you're covering a team that loses 66 to nothing and you're the team that's covering the team with nothing, it was tough for me to write articles like that when I first started off because I understood that parents and maybe siblings, family, the community, right, is going to read these local stories. They're going to read these local games, and you want that. But it's tough to talk about a team that just got their rear ends kicked. And my sports editor said, "I understand what you're saying. I understand that." I said, "This is tough for me to write because I don't want to write anything bad." But he told me, "You have to write the story." Regardless of what is bad, what it is, the truth. That's what you're in it for. That's why we're journalists. You got to write the truth. Yes, 66 nothing is bad, but you didn't play a snap, you didn't throw a ball, you didn't make a tackle, you didn't do anything to affect the outcome of the game. So you got to write the truth and write the story. And when he told me that, it's obvious, right? But at the same time, it's like, man, I'm glad he shared that advice with me.
I think there's no better training ground than having to cover a losing team because you have to find stories. The game is not going to be the fun story to write.
It's not. It's not. And that wasn't. That was not a fun game. I mean, they just got thrashed. And we're talking about 14-year-olds to 18-year-olds on a football field. Like
Ooh,
we're not trying to cream them, right, in high
right.
school. But as he said, I have to tell the truth, and that's what I did. So, um, I would love to get two people in your mind that you think would be an amazing guest here on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. Two people.
Oh, oh, you've had so many great guests too. I'm trying to think of people that I think would really have a lot to say. I'd be really excited to participate. Gene Wojciechowski is one of my colleagues at UT, and he teaches an interview class. Actually, he's phenomenal. He's done a lot of interviews though, so I'm trying to think of people who might this might be a great opportunity for them to share their work in a platform that they haven't had the chance to. Kayla Lombardo is a professor of practice at Montclair State University, and I recommend Kayla because I was on a podcast called the Dynamic Leaders Podcast. And I remember when the guy reached out to me and I thought, me? Like you want me for this? And he said, yeah, Kayla recommended you. And so I feel like I need to pay it forward and pass it on to Kayla. Kayla has an amazing story. She covered softball for Preps Network and she teaches an incredible class on women's sports. So she'd be a
Okay.
great person to have on.
Absolutely.
Another person, Shelby Swanson, she just won the APSC Associated Press Sports Editors Student Journalism Contest. I'm thinking about women here, trying to amplify my other women in sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Let's highlight them.
yeah, Shelby interns now for the Minnesota Star Tribune. Previously worked for the News and Observer. Comes from UNC. Yeah, so lots of great women. Those are two that just come to mind immediately because I just saw Shelby. And I'll always be grateful for Kayla.
Well, Shelby is local, so I'm hoping I can do because I'm Minnesota as well. So that would
That's
be
right.
amazing. That would be
Well,
great.
then her editor, Nalia Jean Meyer, is also an excellent sports writer, leader, advocate, a huge fan of what Nalia is doing with the Star Tribune.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate those names. I'm hoping you can help me possibly get them on here because that would be absolutely amazing for them to share their story and for me to talk to them and get to know them because they're obviously very talented and I would love to get to know them as well. I would love that.
Yeah, and what so nice that you do this and give people a chance to share their story. So I'm super appreciative of the invite and the time and your patience in making this happen.
Absolutely. Well, listen, this has been a pretty dope conversation with us, Shannon. Learning about your background, learning about where you grew up in Raleigh, in North Carolina. I'm assuming Raleigh. That's the city that you was in, but North Carolina for sure. Obviously, being very accomplished with your 3 degrees. That is amazing. That's awesome. I love that. And the fact that you teach at one of the most prestigious schools out there in the University of Tennessee and the fact that you report as well, report still NCAA reporter for wrestling, and still find time to swim in that Tennessee River. That's just amazing that you do all those things. This has been an absolute pleasure, and I've really enjoyed talking to you. My last question to you is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, the job, or anything at all before we conclude?
That's the perfect journalistic question. I feel obligated to say, go Vols.
I love it. I love it. Look, don't hate me. I am a Bulldogs fan.
It's
Please
fine.
don't
I
hate me.
have a bulldog, actually. I mentioned my dog earlier. He's an English bulldog, so I get a lot of love from Georgia fans.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I appreciate that. Well, listen, you and I will definitely stay in touch. I want you to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and the rest of your week, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Chris.
No problem.
Have a great day. Bye.